Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. Patch 9.15 is finally here and should be available by the time this video comes out over in the region of EU. If you were looking to get back into Shadowlands or back into World of Warcraft in general, this patch is a pretty good time. A lot of players are interested in the Mage Tower challenge and the prestige that it offers. A lot of players are interested in some of the quality of life stuff in Shadowlands that probably should have been there from the beginning. While streaming the patch, a lot of the questions that I got in the chat were from players that are looking to come back but are just confused in terms of what should you do first with this patch. So in this video, I compiled together a lot of bite-sized tips in order to get you guys on the right footing when it comes to catching up to everybody else in the game when it comes to diving back for patch 9.15. The first advice I have for you is to get at least one character to Renown 80. Upon reaching Renown 80, you unlock the ability for your main and also to switch covenants anytime you like. I would advise doing this on a character that has the most renown if you're coming back to the game. Just finish it out really quickly so you can use one of the biggest quality of life changes that came with patch 9.15. Grinding that renown and further renown afterwards isn't all that difficult. In 9.15, right now we have a lot of different catch-ups mechanisms being enabled in order to be able to catch up with renown quickly. Instead of it feeling like a grind and a slog, renown kind of drops from all kinds of content. Some of the best stuff you can do is solo content, like maybe dailies like callings, as well as Torghast. It has a very high chance of giving you renown. Group activities can also drop your renown. Dungeons, PvP, raiding, any one of those activities have a very high chance of dropping renown, with generally higher drop rates the more difficult the content you get into. You also have side activities like world bosses will always drop you quite a bit of renown, as well as any of the Maw invasions as well. Those should be the first ones you should do every single week. But the best part is you don't necessarily need to do any of specific activities. You can just do your favorite activity. Find your favorite grind that you want to do and then grind out renown that way. Renown drops ridiculously quickly in 9.15 compared to previous World of Warcraft updates. So renown in getting level 80 shouldn't be difficult. Once you have the covenant switching unlocked, you can now use the benefit of one of the items from a vendor near the Flight Master in the second story of Oribos, which is a broker vendor. They'll give you an item for 500 gold. They'll boost the character's renown level to 40. Just make sure to use it on a character who is under 40 renown, not over, otherwise this item will have no use. It's a very handy item that you'll want to use in your main as well as alts. This can be used on my main character for alternative covenants. I'm a Venthyr main, so then I ran over and boosted Necrolords, Kyrian, and Nightfae if I want to grind through them. This can also be used on your alt characters, even those that are level 50 that are just beginning their leveling journey. If you've already done any of the covenant stories for Kyrian, Necrolord, Venthyr, or the Nightfae, you will no longer need to do the storyline in order to unlock some of the player power. Like soulbinds, you'll be able just to unlock them immediately if, let's say, my Kyrian mage has already done the story. Any character joining Kyrians will now be able to utilize the soulbinds immediately upon joining them. Don't do the main story, skip it completely, just get into the content you want to do, get your soulbinds so you can start PvPing and doing dungeons as quickly as possible. Another major benefit of 9.15 is legendary recycling. What this does is it allows the Rune Carver to be able to refund the Soul Ash and the Soul Cinder spent when crafting that legendary. A lot of you have grinded in Torghast to be able to craft some of your best legendaries, but maybe those legendaries went out of fashion over time, and now they're no longer best in slot, and you want to replace them with something better, something that's usable right now. You might be able to get some of those Soul Ash and Cinders back in order to recraft a fresh new legendary, or even if you just want to swap around secondary stats. Earlier today I took a ring that was heavy on versatility haste and converted it into a crit haste with the same legendary effect, which gives my character a little bit easier time itemizing. And with how low some of the prices for some of the armor tokens for the legendaries in the auction house are, it's a lot cheaper and easier and more affordable. And if you're someone who doesn't like Torghast, you don't need to grind it as much. However, Torghast in 9.15 also gotten changed. Soul Ash and Cinders drops every single time you do any of the floors, and will continue dropping every time you run it. None of those currencies have a weekly cap at all, so if you just want to grind out the amount of Soul Ash and Cinders you need in order to be able to have the resources to craft your legendary, as soon as you have the necessary materials for it, then you could totally do so as well. It might be a good idea to dedicate some time inside of Torghast, not on a weekly rotation, but just put on some music in the background and grind through it. If you don't have the Ash or the Cinders and you aspire to craft a really high rank legendary, you might just want to grind through it in order to get the currency you need, so then you never have to step foot inside of Torghast if that is one of your least favorite activities. We also got some gearing adjustments. Gearing by itself for PvE and PvP is about the same. Raiding, PvP, dungeons, as well as Korthia are some of the ways your characters can gear. However, there have been some massive changes. Valor and Conquest no longer seem to have a cap anymore. We don't know if this is going to stay like this in patch 9.15, but so far it seems that you can have as much Valor and Conquest and there's no limit to it. It might be a good idea to pick your favorite activity, PvP or dungeons, and just spam right through them. As you earn Valor and Conquest, you'll be able to outgear your characters, using Valor to upgrade some of the dungeon pieces to a higher rank, or to simply bind PvP gear within PvP, which has its own scaling in patch 9.15. Also, if you have some Valor and Conquest on your main character but you don't really have much use, maybe your character is really geared, you can use that Valor and Conquest to help gear your alts. From that same broker vendor in the second story of Oribos next to the Flight Master, she sells two items. One of them is a chest for Conquest that rewards PvP gear. The other is a Valor chest with dungeon gear. Those can be sent to your alt characters if you have some of those currencies on your main, but would rather spend it on your alts to be able to catch up a little bit quicker. It's not amazing gear, but at least it's a start and puts the currency to use. In Korthia, we also got a lot of other bonuses. The long and the short of Korthia, everything drops more research. The rares, the treasures, the special events. And research is kind of like the bloodline of Korthia. This is how you get your reputation in Korthia. So if you're still behind on it, now would be the perfect time to get some rep farming. Because rep can be used in order to unlock other benefits that your alts can utilize. Like being able to buy conduits and sockets through research. If you have at least one character maxing out that reputation, your alts get a pretty big benefit from it. And now that your alts can get far more research in 9.15, they should be able to get themselves caught up as quickly as possible, especially if you're looking to get some of the alts into more endgame stuff, and things like sockets and better conduits are very important to you, as they are very important to many players. And that's going to be some of the first bits of advice that I have for you if you're coming back to the game. Catching up to everybody else in patch 9.15 should be a lot easier than previous updates, as this patch really focused on trying to limit the amount of grinds and regrinds added with some of the quality of life updates. The flexibility options added with this patch will allow players a lot more customizability than ever before. Not only can you choose your class and spec, but also your legendary as well as your covenant anytime you want to. Your soul binds and conduits, and any ways to kind of garnish your character. And that so far has been probably the best part of this patch. Thank you guys so much for watching, have fun catching up, and I'll see all of you guys, hopefully, in another video.